Regardless, if he doesn't look at it now, look at it later.
Okay, we're starting from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines from the top of the amud. But hopefully we could finish today, Mitzvah Hashem, to the Mishnah, the next amud. Okay. Not so, there's like one sugya, not too many inyanim, we'll see. But as it's Hashem is Baruch. We'll make 2 akdamas to the shiur, so it'll be easier to understand. 2 introductions. Yeah? Okay. So the first akdam is like this. We have, let's say, for example, when it comes to edus. So you have, it's called Eidei Kiyum and Eidei Birur. Okay? So Eidei Birur is a pashtus. Reuven took money from Shimon, took a loan, and you don't have to have Eidim there for the loan to take effect. The fact that Reuven gave Shimon money, Shimon owes the money al pidin Torah, not of us. If later on, it kommt dem Geld, he took a halva from him. Why do you need witnesses? Not to create the halva, to create the loan. The loan is there, you owe money. None of us. If he denies it, so the Eidim are there to be mavarer, to clarify, to see, you should know you owed him the money. That's called Eidei Birur. Most Eidim say that. Take, for example, by Gittin, by Kiddushin, the Eidim, they're not Eidei Birur. If Reuven goes to Sarah and gives a Kiddushin, Benel Ben Atzmai, between themselves, and later on they don't deny it. They agree, they admit that, yes, I was Mekadosh, she agrees you are Mekadosh. Is it a Kiddushin? No. The same way you need to have a Shova Pruta. You can't just say, oh, we got married without Kiddushin, without a Shova Pruta, without a Shtar, without Bia, we did it ourselves. No. The Torah says it's not called marriage. Also, you need to have 2 Eidim there. 2 witnesses have to be there to confirm the marriage. They're not just there to be mavarer in case of dispute. They're there to create it to be a marriage, a kiddushin. This is called in halacha Eidei Kiyum. The witness is not just there to be mavarer something that is pre-existing. It doesn't exist without the Eidim. They're creating the metzias of kiddushin. Just an example. We're not going to have about Eidim here. Give you an example. That's one thing. Last week's parashah, the Rebbe famous, the Rebbe Sicha brings for the Rogachover, Achkire, the simonim of the treif of the non-kosher, of the behemoth tameyos, the simonim, the behemoth kshedus is if it has mafreses parsa, shesas shesa. The shoes is cod and has split hoofs. Now, the simonim are there as a birur to be mevarer what type of animal is a kosher animal. That means the animal is kosher. A cow is kosher. This suk is kosher. The Rebbe made it kosher. None of us. The Rebbe gave us a siman to see which one is kosher or not. So therefore, he put on the cow, he put these simonim. Let's say a cow was born without these simonim, then you would say, according to that point of view, it's kosher in any case, because we know the family of cows have that siman. So we know already that this is a kosher animal. In a case where it's a rare animal, we don't know what family it's from, and we found it, and it doesn't have the simanim, we can't go by anything else. So we say it's not kosher because we don't know. Case of Kalna. Or do we say, in that case, the simanim are going to be a birur. They're not creating the kashas of the animal. It's just b'mavader that the animal is already kosher from before. Or do we say, no, the simanim of the animal, they make the animal kosher. That means if the animal has the simanim, it's a kosher animal. If not, not. Regardless if it's a chazir that has the 2 simanim, that's not the din, but I'm giving you this according to in the Pilpul B'Yalma, in Indian, according to that extreme case, and that extreme opinion. Even if a chazir would have those 2 simanim of freak nature, it's born in addition to having split hooves where it has, the chazir also is going to that is choosing its cut. It's going to be a kosher. Or if a cow is born without the simanim, it's going to be non-kosher. If we assume the second opinion, that it's not simoni that are mevarer, but the son that make it kosher or not. Of course, it's not so simple. We know that halach is kol hayitzim, whatever comes from a tahir is tahir, something comes from a tummy is tummy. So a chazir who came from a mother chazir, that's a chazir, it's tamei. Even though it happened to be a freak and has the simonim, it's still going to be tamei. And also a cow born from a kosher from a mother cow, which does not have the simonim, it's still going to be kosher. But just giving you in schapiro bialmo, similar, we have the edim, ede kiyum and ede birur. We have it also by simoni from behema. You could apply this in many cases. Chakidus and shas to see if we had in this week's parasha, we spoke the other week about the kohen, the clearing that it's tummy or not, it's tzaras, it's a tzaras or not. Now, the kohen creates the tumah, or the white spots with the two white hairs create the tumah. Who creates a tumah? Big nafkamina. If, for example, he sees. Exactly. So you could think of it. You could say, "Listen, if I see I have those spots, I know it's clear, nothing changed, and I happen to show it to the kohen tomorrow, and he said it's tamei. Maybe you say retroactive from today already. It should be tamei because the kohen is just there to be mevarer, a pre-existing tumor or tar. Or do we say, like you're saying, no, the kohen is there to determine, not just to mevarer.
Rashi brings down that case that if it's a newlywed person,
yeah, very good. That's a big, sure. So you see from their mamish, you know it's very the chant is tamei, but nevertheless, the kohen is the mamish there has a very strong role. He creates a tumor. The house also in Nige Batim as well. The kohen doesn't go and look. He knows there's tzaras over there. If it's the tumor is there, you have to go in as soon as possible. No, he says first take out your kelim, right? And then he goes into the shant money. You're making change. It's tummy. No, like you said, the din is that the kohen creates the tumor. He's not just mevarer a pre-existing tumor. We brought you 3 examples here, right? From this musa, this concept.
Because you have the expert in the area of Tumah Tahara and the Tzaras, he can argue and say, my expertise says that this is coming, but the kohen can overrule and say no.
Yeah.
Even he's the mumcha.
Sometimes he's a bigger mumcha than the kohen, so he tells the kohen, he just like repeats after like a parrot. It says, "Mamish repeats a Torah," but the kohen's words make it. The Rebbe has a whole opinion about it because kohen is isha chesed. So in order to come and make a itomei, this is apichsidis. To make a itomei, you have to have a person who's extreme chesed. Stam to make a itomei. So he's going to find all the ways that it should not be tummy because isha chesed. And that's the issue with that's the beauty of the shaila is when it comes to a b'chor. A b'chor is born. A b'chor is born if it's a suffix, if it's a mum or not. So you're not sure if it's a mum or not. So if you're going to go and check the b'chor before you show the animal to the kohen, like it comes to treifus. What's the name by treifus? You don't have to search the behemoth before you shecht it for all the treifus. Most of them are impossible to check before the behemoth is geschochten. Right? The external treifus you could check. You could check the legs and you could check the head. Maybe you could see some head wounds, etc. So maybe some of the external treifus you could check. But the internal treifus, you must kill the animal first in order to open up the inside to check. But anyway, the din is by treifus, for sure, you first go ahead and shecht. And then you investigate to see if it has treifus. What's about mumin? Why could I say the same by mumin? A person has a kohen has an animal given to him, and by the Yisrael, let him go shecht it. He thinks a mum, no mum, he sees something there, let him shecht it. We bring it to the kohen after the shechita and tell me if this is called a mum or not. So when it comes to the b'chor, it's very dangerous to do that because if the kohen will pass him, it's not a mum, he actually shechted kotchim. He shechted kotchim b'chutz. And many Yisurim involved, me'ila, and shechitas kotchim b'chutz itself is kodesh. It's a very serious Yisurim over here. Because if l'poyel, it's not a mum. Now, let's say it's an obvious mum. The animal's born without a leg. He's born without a limb. It's for sure a mum. There's no question. You don't need the mumche to tell you it's a mum. It's a mum for sure. Maybe that case. So I have to go wait till the mumche comes here, and I have to still feed the animal for a few days because he's coming to town in a week. Let me go and shech the b'chor now. Yeah, I preserve it some meat. I won't eat it to do anything with it. And I wait till I know for sure it's a mum because he's missing a limb. I'll show it to the mumche and say this is a mum. He'll say yeah, sure it's a mum. Then I can go eat the meat. The din is you can't do that because you're not really sure. First of all, you can't do it because you can't make a din. You can check it because you said before you might even be wrong. It might not be a mum. And even the case of the obvious mum, the din is you have to first show it to the mumche, then you could go ahead and shech it. That's the din. Right? Now, how far you're going to go and say that what if I eat shechted an animal without a limb, if a kohen shechted without a limb, so he shechted, he gets kodesh, chutz. You're going to say it's a b'chor that's a tam. It's not a b'chor tam. Obviously, it doesn't have a limb. In the case of a suffix, well, of course, you have a suffix. You might have done a kodesh over here. Maybe I might have to be a korban osham tolui, because you're not sure if you did a Easter or not of kodesh. But in the case of a short samum, no one's going to say that the mumch's declaration creates the mum. The mumch's declaration obviously doesn't create the mum like the koid's declaration creates the tzaras, or like the edikiyum create the marriage, right? Obviously not. However, how strong, how powerful is that declaration of the mumche? Do we say that there's no way this could be declared as a mum until the mumche sees it? And if the mumche had to have seen it before the shechit of the animal and didn't, you should know the animal is not, it's treif, it's not a kosher animal, and that's taka the din al pi din, Shulchan Aruch is, even if that animal later was cooked in a pot, it's like treif, you have to be kash the pot, it's not. Why? Because you're supposed to show the animal to the mumche before you shech it or after you shech it. So this will be a machlekes in our gemara here, about how far do we go in saying that if a person, by mistake or on purpose, knowing for sure it's a mum, he saw there's no limb on this animal, and he shechted the b'chor. Later he showed it to the mumche. Do we say, if it's on purpose, we give him a knas, and if it was by mistake, we don't give him a knas because it's not so terrible in any case? Or do we say, no, the Chachamim said you could not shecht a b'chor till you show it to the mumche. The mumche creates, so to speak, the mum, and therefore, if you went ahead and shechted it before, you should know whether by mistake or on purpose you can't go ahead and eat it. That's going to be a machlok. You can't go and eat it. It's considered non-kosher because that's going to be not just kanas or gzeit. That's going to be one inyan we're going to have to discuss in our sugya as an introduction. The second introduction is going to be, the kid said, it's more of a chakira, but we know the rule is, sofik de'rai says what? Chumre, sofik de'rabanan, l'kula. There's a chakira in actually Rishonim, is a sofik de'rai l'chumre, it's a de'rabanan dikedim or a teira dikedim. You see, so min ha-teira maybe, the teira will tell you if it's a sofik, then it's a l'kula. But the Chachamim said, on a teira din, we're going to be machmir. Or is it a teira din? Now, l'may nafkamina, not stam split, b'shpalta hor for no reason. There's a big nafkamina here. Because let's say there's a suffix on top of another suffix, right? So that second suffix, if the original suffix we paskin l'chumre is a derabanan dikedin, so now we have in front of us a suffix derabanan. So then that second suffix will be l'kula. But if that original psak din was suffix deraisa l'chumre deraisa, so min hatoida we're machmir. So now we have a clear psak din min hatoida, it's chumre. Now, on top of that, a new suffix comes. So it's again a suffix deiraisa, because this was a deiraisa dikedim. And it has ramifications. And also now with Gemara, I don't know if we'll get to it, to this thing and how it's engaged with Gemara as well. I already say it now, but Kid said, even though we don't know the whole sugya yet, for example, when it comes to mumim on a b'chor, so you have dukin sheba'ayin. Dukin sheba'ayin is it's a membrane or cataract. It's a cataract on top of the eye, a doik on top of the eye. And that dukim sheba'ayim, it changes by the death of some of them change by the death of the animal. So in that case, even Rabbi Yehuda, who's more makel and says, if you shecht before the mumche looked at it, you could eat it, it's fine. But he's going to say, dukim sheba'ayim, you can't investigate after the death of the animal because it changed. Maybe now it looks like it's a mum oiver. Oiver means it's a mum that's passing. But when it was alive, it looked like a mum kavua, or vice versa. Then it was a mumayver. Now it looks like that's more important. And now it's a kavua. In that case, really, it was a tam, and it was a mumayver. You don't check the animal even if it passes, right? So therefore, that's Rabbi Yehuda agrees. If the animal had a doik sheba'ayin, duki sheba'ayin, that mum for sure could not be checked after the death of the animal. Because why? As she says, because many of them of the duki sheba'ayin, some of them. It's a suffix. So it's a suffix now. If this is part of those dukim shem that changed after death or didn't change. Meir says, even the animal itself, even the limb of the animal that can't change after death. A missing limb of an animal is quite clear. It cannot change to death. He's goizer the limb of the animal. That means a child born without a limb. He says you're not allowed to check it after the death. You shecht it. Why? Because you goizer to the case of Dukin Shabbayin. And even Dukin Shabbayin is only a gzeira for some cases that is a problem. So you have a gzeira over here. So it's very important to know that if min ha'toira suffix l'chumra is a toira dikidim, so now we have a question: should I be goizer the entire body, other limbs, or to the eye? Then it's going to be a question of a deraisa, suffix deraisa, because the original suffix is chumra deraisa. But if the original suffix is chumra derabanan, so how could it be goizer gzeira? Ein gazim gzeira. The original suffix that we have a suffix on that's going to be negated also now with the gemara. Let's start our sugya with these two introductions, and any question of this union we could speak about when we start the gemara. Now we're going to push to have till the end of the mission a very simple gemara bemis. Gemara will be, who is the halacha like? Rabbi Shimon Rabbi Yehuda. Royin mumin biyomtiv or ein royin mumin biyomtiv. That's a shayla. The Mishnah said Rabbi Shimon was machmir. Rabbi Shimon said ein royin mumin biyomtiv. Why? Let's remind ourselves. Because it's considered a choshev thing, you're passing a din, you can't have it in Torah. And Rabbi Yehuda says you're allowed to. Normally the halacha is, you have in Gemara Eruvin a whole list of rules when it comes to halacha. Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Yehuda, halacha Rabbi Yehuda normally. But here we'll have many Amiroim asking like Rabbi Shimon. You want to know why? The rule also is Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Meir, halacha Rabbi Meir. So we're going to try to find how there's a Rabbi Meir in Masechta Bcheiros seems to hold like Rabbi Shimon here. Then it's 2 against 1. So all these rules that we had in Masechta Eruvin, this Tana versus this Tana, this Tana plainly is only when it's 1 against 1. But when you have a Rabbim against a Yachid, those rules go off. So our Gemara till the end basically is going to be about this sugya. The halacha is like Rabbi Shimon or Machmir, ein royin mumin b'yomtiv. And we're going to want to know why, and we'll bring in Rabbi Meir from Masechta Bcheiros, which l'chayra seems that it's following the same sheet of Rabbi Shimon. Then we have 2 against 1, Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Meir against Rabbi Yehuda.
Does Rabbi Yehuda hold that it's beer, or does he hold that it's key?
Oh, so that's not so clear. There's a Yerushalmi that goes into the scene of beer and key when it comes to this nekuda. But the reason why you shouldn't check on Yom Tif, because you're doing a choshev thing. Now, Rabbi Yehuda will hold more birur in that case. He'll lean towards birur, because only when you're accomplishing something, taking something from Yisur, making it heter, seems to be like you're mesaken, right? But if you're not, a Rav Paskins a din and tells you this is kosher today, why is he allowed to do that on Shabbos and Yom Tif? Isn't he mesaken? Before I didn't touch the pot, I thought it was treif. I didn't know how to suffix. And he tells me it's kosher. Why is that not mesaken? It's not mesaken. He's smiling mevarer, as I said last year. A Rav today is middle mevarer. If you would know the halach of Shulchan Aruch, we would look it up ourselves. But he knows it. He had the question many times, so we ask him. He's clear mevarer. The shaila is, like you said, when it comes to the mum of the b'chayir, by the mumche, the clearing, looking and saying that it's a mum, making it kosher to shech, is that Rabbi Yehuda holds more to birur. It's not such a choshev thing. So we're not making a gzeira. It doesn't look like you're masaking something here. Rabbi Shimon would be noita more towards saying, no, it's a choshev, important thing that he's doing. What is he doing? He's taking it, and without his declaration, it's not kosher at all, even if it's missing many limbs, because his declaration creates the mitzias of a behema bambu. That's going to be the nekuda. Yeah.
That's just like a Kohen with the tiras, that we have the tiras right in front of us.
Yeah.
We know for sure.
If it's a clear-cut case, nevertheless, yeah.
But still we call it ADQ.
Yeah, in a way, yeah.
Same with Rabbi Shimon, we still call it ADQ.
The term is not aid. I used it. I wanted to bring just an example, so I said aid kiyum, aid biru, but the Torah is not called an aid. But that's going to be the same line. This will be kiyum. This will be establishing, creating the mitzias, right?
It's not going to be aid kiyum.
Right.
By either.
Right.
There's no aid.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Let's start our Gemara a few lines from the top, right?
Yeah.
Rabbi Yehuda Nesio. Abu Huda Nesiya Havale Hahu Bukhra, he had this B'chayr. Shadri L'kamed Rab Ami, he sent it to Rab Ami, who was an expert. Savar, Rab Ami thought, the Loy L'mechzeh. Yeah, he doesn't want to look at it, and it was on Yom Tiv. Rab Zreika, it came Rab Yirmiyah, Rab Yehuda, Rab Shimon, Halach Rab Yehuda. Why are you not looking, why aren't you checking this mum on Yom Tiv? Isn't the din, the halach is like Rabbi Yehuda? Now Misha says Rabbi Yehuda is a meikil, says you could see a mum Yom Tiv. Okay, wait. Again, so he saw he didn't check the b'chayr, could have koyin by the table, and you want to give it to the koyin to eat also, right? So he went and sent on Yom Tiv the b'chayr to Rabbi Yitzchak, who's also a mumche, to check the chayres. I told you that. And I think there's 18 months. It says Rav went to a farmer, to a stable to check and see exactly how the mum of an animal. It's a whole art.
He was a Gemara at the time.
Rav.
Yeah.
And Amoida. Yeah.
He's Rabbi.
What?
Okay.
Yeah, it's an Amoida. It's an Amoida. It's Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya. So, yeah, Rabbi Ami is also an Amoida, because these are Amiroim and Etzisrael, they call them Rabbi. Rab Ami, Rab Asi, they're all Amiroim. The Talmidim of Rabbi Dasi, they're all called Rabbi because they're Eretz Yisrael. This is an Eretz Yisrael. So they send it to Rabbi Yitzchak, who was also an expert in checking B'cheres. So he also didn't want to check it. Why? Because he holds Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Yirmiyah, Rabbi Zerek, they say to him, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Yehuda. So Rabbi Yehuda is why you're not checking the Mumin. Rabbi Abba. So Abba told us Rabbi Zerek, or Rabbi Yirmiyah. You see, Rabbi Yirmiyah is insisting on bringing out the lachas like Rabbi Yehuda twice already. So he tells him, "My time, why lo shav kesinu rabbanon lemevdu the Rabbi Shimon? Why aren't you allowing the rabbanon? Why aren't you allowing the rabbanon to pass like Rabbi Shimon?" Omar later, Rabbi Yirmiyah tells him, "Like, what do you mean? Why am I not allowing? I just told you why. We have in the Gemara Eidavin, the rule is Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon halacha is Rabbi Yehuda. So why are you wondering? Why I'm wondering that they're passing Rabbi Shimon?" He tells him, "What do you have in your hand?" In other words, what tradition do you have against the law that I'm telling you, Masechta Eidavin, halacha Rabbi Yehuda? That's the rule. Do you have another Messiah that contradicts this rule that I have from Eidavin, halacha Rabbi Yehuda? Yes, I have another Messiah that will tell us that halacha here like Rabbi Shimon. This is what Rabbi Zayda said. Halacha Rabbi Shimon. No, here, in this case. Omar, so he said, after Omar Manduhu. Manduhu means a Talmud. Rashi says, we don't know the name of the Talmud. One of the people listening to this heard, and he was so impressed that Rabbi Zayda said, Halacha Rabbi Shimon. So he was very curious to know where Rabbi Zayda gets us from. Does he have a Messiah about this? Did he figure it out from another Mishnah? And how does it know? And Bechlal, he wants to hear. So he said in a way of a Yehiratzon, a tefillah to the Eibishter. He says, Aski v'asig lahasam v'agmari l'shmaite mipumei. The Mara. Ask him, I'll be zoiche. I wish Yehiratzon, I'll be zoiche, and I'll go there. Yeah, Rabbi Zayda, that's a Yisrael or Bavel, wherever it might be. Rabbi Zayda was oil of Bavel, so I don't know from Bavel to Yisrael, so I don't know exactly where it was then. But I'll be zoiche to go to Oile, to Yisrael, right? And then I want to hear the beitza, I want to hear the tradition that Allah from his mouth itself, from the mouth of the master, right? Let's touch it clear. Aski means to know zoiche, I'll be zoiche. Asik lahosma, I'll go there. V'admere, I will learn Shmaitze this din, mipumi from the mouth of the mother from the master. I want to hear it from Isaiah himself. What happened? Kisalik lahosam, and he came back to Yisrael. Ashrik Rabbi Zayda, he found Rabbi Zayda. Omar Mar halacha Rabbi Shimon. Did you say halacha Rabbi Shimon? I never said I have a Messiah. I never said normally when you say me that hurts a Messiah you can't argue with. And you hurt with Rebbe's. No, I don't have such a Messiah. The Messiah normally is halacha like Rabbi Yehuda in all cases. He said, I'm no mistavro Amri. I said a svara. I thought it makes sense. Why? Like we said before, because I have a Mishnah in B'chayros, and based on that Mishnah in B'chayros, the way we interpret the Mishnah, it seems that Meir is following also the shit of Rabbi Shimon. Now let's remember one of the before we go weiter. What we're going to do now is we're going to go to the source of Rab Shimon and the source of Rab Meir here. We said before the source of Rab Shimon's argument, what's the yisoid is, because he's machshiv. What's machshiv? He's machshiv, the mumches declaration. Yeah? So we're going to see here also in Masechta B'chayros, seemingly, the reason why Rab Meir paskins what he paskins is also because he's machshiv. He's machshiv, the mumches declaration. That's what we think. And if you find a Mishnah regarding another halacha, but we see that Meir is also machshiv, upgrades this mumches declaration, and Rab Shimon also is machshiv, you have 2 against 1 against Rabbi Yehuda. But if you're going to learn the Mishnah in B'chayros, not that he's machshiv, the mumches declaration, but rather for another reason of a gzeira or a knas, then this argument falls apart. But let's start now to see where he gets his din from. So he said like this. He comes, he says, this is the din we learned. Because he says, it says in the Mishnah, Rab Shimon says, Kol she'ein mumay nikir miboid yoim. This will first be a diuk in the Mishnah, then we'll get to the Mishnah of Rab Meir. Yeah, so he has now his first answer, Pasha diuk in the Mishnah. Our Mishnah says that Kol she'ein nikir miboid yoim, and the Mucha, if Shimon says, whatever is not known before Yom Tif is not called Mucha, so you can't check it on Yom Tif. The Ketoni lo bebraise beloshin chachamim. In the Braise we had an amud chavav amud beis. There, that shita of Rab Shimon was referred to as the opinion of the chachamim. So now Pashit, he's not giving any big cheshbon. He's saying Pashit. The Baal, the Braise refers to Rab Shimon as chachamim. Is a raya, the Allah is like him. Is mishmam and mistaber kavasei. So come to that's Pashit. Okay, that's what Rab Zayda says. Now we're going to have my hava Allah. What's going to be the psak din? Is Allah like Rab Shimon? Rab Zayda does not have a mitzvah about it. It's Rab Zayda's svara. So what is the halacha? Now we're going to have an interesting union. Omar Rabbi Yisrael said, Toshma coming here. The Talio Ashley Ravrivi. This depends and it's held on Ashley Ravrivi. Rashi teaches Ashley means rope, and Ravrivi means strong, big rope. That means we have a very, very clear tradition that the Allah is like Rab Shimon. Where do we see this? This is the cheshbon over here. The Omar Rab Shimon ben Pazi, number 1, Shimon Pazi said. Omar Rabbi Shul ben Levi, the name of Rabbi Shul Levi, number 2. Omar Rabbi Yosef ben Shol, the name of Yosef ben Shol, number 3. Omar Rabbi, the name of Rabbi, number 4. And Rabbi said the name of whom Mishum Kahala Kadish Yisrael, number 5. The Rabbi is saying the name of the holy Kehillah of Kishalayim, it's referred to certain Tanoi. Yeah? And that's number 5. And they say Rab Shimon, that in the Shimon ben Manasseh, Chaveiro of Amru, that number 6, Rab Shimon Manasseh, they say Halacha Kirab Meir. Halacha is like Rab Meir. We'll see soon the Masechta B'chayros. So, and then, because they say the halacha is like Rab Meir, and we'll say Rab Meir and Rab Shimon hold the same opinion. Is our halacha is like Rab Shimon. Before we go further, we're going to clarify here the chronological orders over here, because Rab Shimon here is Rab Shimon, the last Rab Shimon, Shimon ben Manasseh. Rab Shimon ben Manasseh, it says Rab Shimon, Shimon ben Manasseh, Chaveira. We know who was older. Rab Shimon ben Manasseh was younger than Rabbi. We find the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, Rab Shimon ben Manasseh says that he's made, that these attributes mentioned, that he mentioned in the Mishnah, Rabbi and his children had it. And who said this? Rab Shimon ben Manasseh. He's like a Talmud of Rabbi. And here we have Rabbi saying in the name of the Kehillah Kaddish Yisrael, which is older than him. They're saying in the name of Rab Shimon ben Manasseh that Allah is like a Meir. So not going to clarify that. In fact, Amru, halacha Rab Amru, Amru, they said, they are older than him a lot. So the Kehillah Kaddish Yerushalayim is way older than the Shimon ben Manasseh. Rather, change the word a little bit. Elo b'shittas Rab Meir amruah. They said it in the shita of Rab Meir, meaning Rab Shimon ben Manasseh was younger than Rabbi and younger than the Kehillah Kaddish Yerushalayim. And these were young Talmidim, and they were discussing, and they were saying that they think Allah is like Rab Shimon in our Mishnah. And the Kehillah Kaddish Yerushalayim commented and said, oh, these young Talmidim, they are following the shita of Rab Meir. And that's the reason why the Allah is like Rab Shimon, and therefore Allah is like Rab Shimon. That's just to clarify these Tanoim say Allah is like Rab Shimon. Why? Because the Allah is like Rab Meir. What does Rab Meir say? It's now in the Mishnah. Someone shechted a b'choir. And after the shchita, you show the mum to the mumche. Obviously, you cannot check without showing, like you said before, you might be over a shchute chutz. But he went ahead and he shechted it, and later comes to the mumche. And the mumche taka says it's a mum. What's the din? Abu the matir. Abu says you're allowed to go eat the meat. Meir Oimer, he says, no, hoyil, v'nishchat, shalei al pi mumche, being shechted not according to, not at the mouth of the mumche, also it's also. So we assume now that Rab Meir, that he says it's asur because he upgrades the psak of the mumche and makes it so important, and that's why it's asur. Because these people who went and shechted before the mumche, they shechted a behavior that wasn't yet allowed to be geshachted because the mumche didn't declare it yet. What do we see from it? Because Rab Meir holds the iyas b'choir lav k'iyas treife. Seeing a b'choir is not like seeing a treife. Iyas b'choir michayim. Riyas b'choir must be seen michayim. Riyas treife la'achar shchite. We don't have to shchite. That's what we see from Rab Meir. What's to negate our din about on Yom Tif seeing a b'choir or not? Umino, and from this we could learn the iyas treife afil b'Yom Tif. Even on Yom Tif, one is allowed to check for a treif. And obviously, when you shecht on Yom Tif, you must have to go check for a treif, no problem. But Riyaz B'choir, Me'ed of Yom Tif, must be done Me'ed of Yom Tif, like Shem Paskins in our Mishnah. So, for the Meir says that the Mumche plays a crucial role in declaring this animal kosher, and it has to be done before the death of the animal, seems like it's similar to Rab Shimon, that Rab Shimon says that you're playing a crucial role, and therefore it's as if you're masakin on Yom Tif. You see the Indian. So that Meir that holds that after the shechita you can't check anymore, and it's also in Gansen. Why? Because you did a terrible thing. The Mumche's declaration basically practically makes it kosher, and you went ahead and shechted it beforehand. So of course it's not kosher. Rabbi Yehuda, on the other hand, will hold, no, the Mumche's declaration is maybe just a birur. It's merely a birur. If it's merely a birur, marash, what terrible thing did you do? So you're supposed to shecht it before. You're supposed to check it before you shecht it. You checked and you shecht it before. Fine, you didn't do something how you should have done. Now the Mumche sees it, and he sees that it's a mum, so it's kosher. Baruch Hashem, no shchutei chutz. Retroactively, it's kosher from when it had a mum, which is many days ago, right? You mavarer, an old story, so therefore go ahead and eat it. So Rabbi Yehuda in that Mishnah says the declaration of the Chochem, of the Mumche, is nicht azay choshuv, not so important. It's merely mevarer what already exists before. And therefore, when you went and changed the order and shechted before, we're not going to say it's also. However, Rabbi Meir says no. He shechted an animal that was not allowed to be geshachted. Finished. It was not allowed to be. Why would I be geshachted? Because it's not kosher. It's a choir tam. It's missing a leg. Who cares missing a leg? The mumche didn't declare it to be a mum, so it's not a mum yet. So you have no right to do it. It's a terrible aveda you did. Therefore, it's going to be non-kosher. So same thing like of Shimon. So when the mumche is declaring something, he's machshiv. He's creating a whole new metzias of isur. That's same thing to Rab Shimon. Why does Shimon now Mishnah hold? Why does he hold it on Mishnah? They now to investigate mum and yom tif because it's like you're masaking something. You're making a psak din. So the chayre for the mayor saying that after the shechita, the mumche cannot check, and if he does, it's irrelevant. It's going to be treif. It's not kosher. You can't use it. And Rab Shimon al Mishnah says yom tif. You should not be boidik. The chayre both hold one shita. That the mumche's role is very, very strong here, and the mumche's role is creating a new mitzvah. And therefore, you have a mayor, Rab Shimon against Yehuda al Mishnah. That's what we think now. Say there. Abaye says no. That's not the svaras hamachloikis. That's not what Rab Meir is saying in that Mishnah. He's not saying that the chochem, the mumche creates an isur. No, the isur maybe perhaps he holds the isurs created before. It's birur, right? It's nothing to do. He's giving you a knas. Or it's a gzeira that he said you should not eat the meat, not because he holds essentially meat is non-kosher to consume because the chacham didn't see it on the mukha didn't see it on time. No, he holds really it's birur, but just he's saying because of a gzeira one should not go and eat it. We'll continue about it. Are they speaking about, are you allowed to see or not mum? In other words, are mumin the mumche, it creates an isur or not? The knasa pligi. They're speaking about a knas, or as we'll see in the Rishonim, or a gzeira. We'll see in a moment. Pligi. If it's that mum of dukin shebayin as mentioned before, kula amalei pligi dasu. Even Rabbi Yehuda says that if you shechted it first, the mumche saw it. He saw a dukin shebayin and said it's a mum. It's not good enough. Why? Mishum de mishtanin. It changes before death to after death of the animal, and the chacham, by investigating after the death, cannot give a proper diagnosis. Ki pligi. When they're arguing, the mum shebeguf, the mum that's on the body. That may saw, but he says gazirin on the mum shebeguf, autumn shebein. That means really, it's no problem. If the mumcha sees later it's missing a limb, it's no problem, it's kosher. Why does Rab Meir say you should not eat the meat of this p'chayir? Because it's giving you a knas, he's a gzeira. If you're going to allow people to check the mum after the shechita, he might go and check that specific mum in the eye, and also in that case it's going to be a problem. Rabbi Yehuda Sava Lega Zinon, he says you're not going one up to the other. In other words, it has nothing to do with him holding, Rab Meir holding that the mumcha is mamish creating a new yisur over here. Actually, look into the Mishnah there in Bechayres. It seems that's a pshat. The Ketani Rab Meir Oimer Hoyil v'nishchat shalei al pi mumche osur. Shma mino. It says Hoyil v'nishchat. It doesn't say osur nishchat. It could have said don't check it. He said it happened to be geschachten already, so therefore we're going to say we're going to give you a knas because of a gzeir. Shma mino knosu hu de kokonis. Shma mino is a knas. So the sisun gzeir knas. What is a gzeir? Let's finish up until the Mishnah, the Gemara itself, because this is not such a hard Gemara. Yeah, let's go back. It says the Gemara. Then we're going to get back to the Rashi and taste on this other Gemara. Yeah, Ami Vardinor. Ami from Vardinor. Rashi two touches. One touches Vardinor for the word Vered. Vered is a rose because he was a very handsome man. We called him Vardinor. Or it comes from a city called Vardinor. Now Chazi Bukhre, he was the one who would be the mumche to check the pchayrim, the beinesia by the reish galusa, by the nasi. That was his job. Yoy metove comes to Yom Tiv loy have a chazi. He would not go and be baidik. Osu v'amru le Rab Ami. The kent of Ami amru luhu. Rab Ami said shapir kovid. He's doing good. He's doing good by not checking it on Yom Tiv. He passed like a shimin. Loy chazi. It's not the case of Rab Ami. We know that Rab Ami gufi chazi. Rab Ami himself would l'chayre be baidik the mumin on Yom Tiv. Says he wasn't baidik on Yom Tiv. Rab Ami ki chazi mi esmol havi chazi. Bemis he saw the animal already yesterday out of Yom Tiv. However, on Yom Tiv he did the second stage of the investigation. Because in addition to seeing, as we said the other shiur, to seeing if it's a mum over a mum kavua, we suspect the kohenim of deliberately placing a mum or even being goyim a mum. And that you have to investigate, to question, have eidim, etc., who put the mum inside. So that part of it he did on Yom Tiv. So the Talmidim thought Rab Ami was baidik muman on Yom Tiv because he would speak and investigate. He says, no, we really saw it before Yom Tiv. Shiyuli Kamashayli would ask questions on Yom Tiv. What was the story? I wonder what circumstances did this animal get the mum? Where do we see something similar that there has to be this investigation of the circumstances? Similar to who gathered, there was a person. The Aisi Buchlika made the Rave. He brought up Chayr in front of Rave. When did he come? Apanyo de Mali Yoima Tova. Mamish Erev, almost by sunset, Erev Yom Tiv. And what was Rave doing then? It was so close to Yom Tiv that Rave was in the middle of combing or washing his hair for Yom Tiv. And he came with an animal, mamish, a few minutes before Yom Tiv. So in the middle of a shower, he put his head, he picked up his eyes from the shower. He looked at the animal, saw the moon, and went back and told him, come back tomorrow. Zil go, and he didn't ever told him, go and come back tomorrow. He also came back tomorrow. Omar, Rava asked him, what was the story? What was the circumstances? And how did this animal get this moon? He said, have a shadyon. Sa'ari bahar gisa the hutza. Shadyon is a shoulders to throw. There was some thrown, tossed sari, barley on the other side of the gate, the thorn gate. Yeah, and the animal was on the other side of this thorn gate. The boy when it came time to eat, he put in his head to try to get to the barley that's on the other side of this thorn bush or thorn gate. Uparte hutze lisfasose, and the hutze and the gate split his lip and it created a mum. So that's how this animal got a mum. Maybe you did it. You were going and you deliberately threw the barley seeds on the other side of the fence, wanting your bchor to go through and get this mum in order to eat this animal. So Amalei Loi, he says, no, I didn't. Okay. Now the Gemara is going to discuss till the Mishnah. How do we know? There's a pasuk that says you should not place a mum. How do you know you can't even be goyim a mum? Right? There's two things: there's deliberately placing a mum, and there's a gram. So we're going to hear from the psukim. The grama osur. How do we know? Says the Gemara, even to be goyim a mum on the bchor is osur. The time of the beitza, mum loy yihi boy. The pasuk says a mum should not be in it. Now, ainli elo shaloi yahaya. Rashi says it's yahaya. You're supposed to say yahaya means placing the mum. You're the one placing the mum. That the pasuk tells us. Aber minayin yahaya boy mum. How do you know you should not even be the cause of the mum? And the beitza will give us examples of what does it mean a cause of a mum. Don't bring a piece of dough, or figs, processed figs. To put it on the ear of the bchor in order that the dog should come and take it and also bite off part of its ear. Why? How do you know you should not do that? The pasuk says kol mum. If it would say mum lo yihi boy, you shouldn't place the mum. But it says kol, that includes kol mum omar kol mum omar mum omar kol mum. The pasuk says mum, which is you don't place it, but it says kol mum, indicating to be married, but don't even be goyim the mum. So we see from here that one should not be goyim the mum. Al kol panim, we see all the Amoraim were knowing not to be boidik on Yom Tif. They did not check mum on Yom Tif. They made it a point to see it before Yom Tif. Maybe later do the investigation, but do something before Yom Tif. That's the mission. Let's go to Rashi, the other amud. Get back to the amud Aleph. The Rashi over here, like towards the top of the amud, Havali Ahu Bukhra. He had that b'chor. You see it there? Maybe 15 lines from the top of Rashi. Havaloi Ahu Bukhra, right? We have it? Okay. Hayuloi bebeisoi koyanim. He had in his house koyanim smuchim al shulchanoi that were dependent on his table, meaning they ate on his table. The oichlim b'choros, they would eat b'choros. So Rabbi Yehuda, Rab Shimon, halachic Rabbi Yehuda, who said this rule, hachi kailinon lohu be'erevin. This is the cloud that we have in the Masechta Erevin. These two Tanoim, halach is like Rabbi Yehuda. Amalei, Rab Zeik, Rab Abba, va'at ma b'yotcha. What do you have in your hands? That is a tradition that you saw, that you want to say halach is like Rab Shimon. What do you mean? The shafkes, Rab Yehuda, ubois lemebek Rab Shimon. Shafkes means you left, right? You went away from. You went away from Rabbi Yehuda, which is halach is like Rab Yehuda. Ubois lemebek, and you did that ma'aseh Rab Shimon. Mimisha maito the halach Rab Shimon bezu. From who did you hear that the halach is like Rab Shimon in this case? Amar manduhu. So one of the talmidim that heard that Rabbi Zeir is the one who said it. Echad ben talmid, one talmidim. Mishu v'lei noida shmoi. Rashi says we don't know his name. The Gemara says one of the talmidim said it. What did he say? He said, "Azki v'asik yehi ratzoin." It should be the will of Hashem. She'eske, should be zoiche. La lois la'eretz Yisrael. Tak. Rabbi Zeir was Eretz Yisrael then. I'll go up to Eretz Yisrael. L'makim sh'Rabbi Zeir Gorsha Sham. The place that Rabbi Zeir is. To whom Mara the Shemaitza, he is the master of this Shemaitza, meaning he taught this din. The Amud Mishmei Halacha Rab Shimon. They say in his name, Halacha like Rab Shimon. But Agmara the Shemaitza Mipume. I'm going to learn this din from his mouth itself. So he asked Rab Zeir, did you say this? He says, no, I never said I have a tradition. He said, I'm not mistabro Amri. I said to Masvara, Kacha Marti mistabro. It makes sense, Halacha Rab Shimon. I never heard that there was a kaviyus halacha in the generation before halacha like Rabbi Shimon. I thought this is a svara. Why? Because the lashon is lashon chachamim. Tani leil. Also, the ice must need to be yodei. On amud aleph, on amud beis, it says he brought him mishnah, and it says bein shenel beimum at yomtiv, bein shalom at yomtiv. Chachamim ma'imim chulu. It says the chachamim say you should not check it. And who are they referring to? Referring to Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon is the one. So Yibal independent beitza refers to the opinion of Rabbi Shimon as chachamim ma'imim is a proof that the halacha like the chachamim. But Rabbi Shimon, who the Kohen Marachi, the Kohen Lei Chachamim, Rabbi Shimon is the one who says you should not check the mumim. And the Braisa calls it the Chachamim say so, is a raya that the halacha is like Rabbi Shimon. What is the term? But Ashli Ravrevi. This halacha was taught and it has great strength to it. The Chavalim G'delim, a chaval is a rope with big ropes, the gasim, thick ones, shekoshin linotek, difficult to rip apart, very strong. It's a lashon. This is a real strong anchor din. Kalema chachamim doilam amru. Great chachamim scholars said halacha like Rabbi Shimon. Ve'ein noichin levatel divrei. It's not right to be levatel their words. Who are these chachamim?
It's quite interesting because we end up saying you don't check.
Yeah, exactly. And they also say the same like Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon says you don't check, you're not to check. That's going to be the end.
Okay.
But who are these? The whole, we got like 6 people in the name of someone else. Rabbi Shimon ben Manasseh v'chaveirav, oison she'amru aleim, harei amru ein loimum b'yomtiv. So it said, amru halacha krab meir, b'pchoiris and by pchoiris. Now, hashta mashma, now it seems, she'ma'amidim kohola kadisha al Rabbi Shimon ben Manasseh. It seems that we're saying, Kohola Kadisha, they relied on this great Rabbi Shimon ben Manasseh, where actually he was much younger than them. They also look like a mayor. He says, Amru bitmiya. They said the name of Shimon ben Manasseh. Is it possible? Kohola Kadisha, this Kohola Kadisha, they're saying this on referring to Shimon ben Manasseh. They're saying is that, are we doing like that? Is that a possible term they should say on these two amirot on Shimon ben Manasseh that they say like a mayor? What's wrong with that? Says Rashi. V'ha inhu kedimei, these Kehilo Kadisha, they're Kadum, they come before. Ukshishi, Kashish means older, and they're older. Minei Tuvalat, they're older than Shimon ben Manasseh and his Chaveir Malat. Kol Kadisha, the Amra, Rabbi Loshmaitze, Mishmayu, Rabbi Huda Hanosi, who said this in the name of Kol Kadisha. These people, Kshishim Rabbi Shimon ben Manasseh Tuva, they're older a lot than Shimon ben Manasseh. Where do we see? See, Rashi brings a raya. The Rabbi Shimon ben Manasseh made Rabbi Yubanov. He was in the time of Rabbi Yubanov. Like Sam Tech the Obis Perek Vav, Rabbi Shimon ben Manasseh, Elu Sheva Midos, Shemanu Chacham V'Talmidim, Kulin Eskayim Rabbi Yubanov. It says with this. Rabbi Shimon ben Manasseh is speaking about the Rabbi Yubanov. He must have come much later. And also, Ilnami Aflud Bahadei. We also see the argument last time. So the question is, Heichi Amru. Hahu Kol Kadisha Halacha Mishmei Rabbi Shimon ben Manasseh. How could they have said in the name of Shimon ben Manasseh the halacha the Ketana Rabbi Shimon v'Chever Amar Lacha Krab Meir? The Gemara wonders that about this chronological order. Rather, they change it. Rather, Hachi Amar Kol Kadisha. This is what Kol Kadisha said. They didn't say that. Didn't say Rabbi Shimon ben Manasseh said. They said we hold like this opinion of this young scholar Shimon ben Manasseh. Of Shimon ben Manasseh, the Chaveir She Amru Ein Royin, but Mishitas have made Amru. So the Kehila Kaddish said, you should know these young students. The Chein Efsh, it's possible. Shehazekenim, the elders, the older Talmidei Chachamim, Nosnu Daitom, paid attention to the conversation of the students. Al Divrei HaBachurim, to the words of the younger ones in the group. For Amru, and they liked what they heard. So for Amru, they said, oh, Davar Poleni, this that these young students said. This actually follows Rabbi Meir. So it's not that they're saying in the name of Rabbi Shimon and his friends. They're saying, oh, these young students said so, you should know. This sounds very good, but this follows the shit of Rabbi Meir. I'll go point, that's just getting it clear how it was said. What was said?
You're saying this is the shit of Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai? Just of Rabbi Meir.
No. Oh, that's the thing. So we're saying that they were this young student of Shimon ben Manasseh. He was saying the halacha that Shimon b'Yechai.
Yes.
And the elders in that beis medrash, the Kehila Kadisha, they heard young students saying halacha that Shimon. And they commented and said, actually, they're right. Are they right? Because Rabbi Meir in Masechet Bechayros also holds of this.
That's a Kashisha. That's these great people.
They said,
when we say it was only a Gezerah.
Wait. That we're holding now when we still think it's a raya from there.
I'm asking.
At Maskani, you say.
Yeah,
Quote Maskani.
It doesn't make sense. No.
Oh,
But
Maskani.
we still follow this idea.
Not just that, we're saying Ashli Ravravi. We're calling them great ropes. And this l'chayda means a lot.
Yeah.
That lochak b'shimon. And now at the end of the Gemara, that won't be a proof actually. It won't be from there. We don't have a proof at all. We actually don't have a proof at all. We just have
How could they make that mistake?
Oh, so I saw over here some sefer in the back. I saw he asked this question in the Maskonos HaGemara, and he says that actually these are not the words of the Kol HaKadosh. It's the words of Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef here, you see, who said this? No, my Havala, Amar Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef said, didn't make things up. Rabbi Yosef did not know
what Kaddish meant.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's how you can see in the back. I saw some safe from that. We'll look at it later. So it's a good question because you can't say they, because at the end of the Gemara, it's going to be a problem. So they just said Lachak Rav Meir. So that's an Ashli Rav Revi. That means if anyone's going to question, is a Lach like Rabbi Yehuda there in B'chayris or Rav Meir? What's the answer? Like Rav Meir. Who said? Kol HaKadosh said so. Rabbi Yosef made a connection between that. That's it. Okay. Weiter in Rashi. Now getting to the actual sugi itself, because before we got clear who said what, and now Hashoichet as Habchoy. This is the first line of Rashi. Hashoichet as Habchoy, Koydem sheitiru Chacham. That was the Machlokes and the mission B'chayris. Before the Chacham was materit, V'achar Cheres Mumi l'Chacham. Later on, he showed to the Chacham. Alma, we see from there, Kasav Rav Meir as a B'chayr. Here Rashi will explain to us, Ein a kalo keriyas treif. It's not as lenient, as seeing a treif. The Achshavu Rabbanon. The Rabbanon made it chashuv. They were machshivit. That's the point. The chol atzma shel haTorah zebcheir, and the whole essence and the whole reasoning behind being matir of chayir tluya ba. The whole heter, meaning the chayir would not become mutter at all if not for the mumche. She'af shchitosai asura kodem shirena. The shchit also before he sees it. Ve'ein doim l'riyas treifa, not similar to riyas treifa. You're allowed to check it after shchit after shchit.
You can't see by treifa.
Many treifas you can't see. Yeah.
You could see.
Yeah.
But this comes at din. This comes at din the Rabban.
The Rabban will machshiv. Yeah.
That's on din the Rashi.
Yeah, but the word is, I mean, if to allow a person to shech before bedikah, he might even be over this the rice of shchit chutz if it's not a proper mum.
But
Sure. Even Rabbi Meir holds you should not shecht first. Rabbi Meir just hold. Sorry, Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda who's mekil and says you could eat the meat if the mumcha saw it after the shchita. He doesn't say the chatchili you could do it. Everyone holds the chatchili. You have to first be baidik, then you go shecht, right? Machlokes and b'chayris over there is only if a person went ahead and went against the halacha and he shechted before he had a check by the mumcha. Is the meat kosher or not? If the mumcha, of course, the mumcha said it was a mum. Yeah. So Rabbi Meir says, he should not have done it, but fine, he did it already. Mumcha says it's a mum, so it's a mum, because he doesn't give so much value to the words of the mumcha. That's Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Meir says, Rabbi Meir says that no, the mumcha's declaration was a lot, was machshir, and therefore it's not just it's better to do it this way. This is what you did. From this din, Rav Shimon ben Manasseh and Chaver learned, it's just like here on Yom Tov you masakin, who could do din, right? Or you're making a din, like Rav Shimon here, but also it also be Yom Tov, and they made the connection between our Mishnah of Rav Shimon who's machmir, because it's so chashuv, to the Mishnah of Rav Meir that says the machmir also because it's so chashuv. Even though the treifa could be seen on Yom Tov. V'hainu talya ba'ashli Rav, this is called to tell them she'amru kilo kadosh kedisha the Rav Shimon Rav Meir according to Rashi we see if we get to go in the same shita ozlu v'kom Rav Shimon ben Yechoy Rav Meir v'chodesh shitosa. So here we see that Rav Shimon ben Yechoy in our Mishnah And I've made in that Mishnah hold the same shita. So I recreate a scenario where we have two against one, and the rule over Rabbi Shimon is only when it's only them against each other. However, when you have, yeah, that's what you think. About shot in that Mishnah, right? Rabbi Yossi says no. Otu, then is it so? Are they arguing essentially if it's you're allowed to or not, and if you did, it's mamish osur? No. And umishum time the chshivuse amra Rab Meir lemitle. Are you toilet? You dependent on the shita of if it's choshev or not. It's just a mere knas or gzeira. That's what they're arguing about, a mere gzeira or not gzeira, not because he holds it's mamish as if you're creating the isur. The ilu, and actually very important, the ilu adam achashochte, if another person, an innocent person from the side, shechted it, because savor shuhu niter, and he thought that it was already mutter before, mipiya mumchav before. In that case, the Rav Meir made the deroim. So that would be the afternoon also. If you hold that Meir essentially said it was not allowed to be done, then it's irrelevant if it was done by mistake or on purpose. Mashenka, now we're saying it's a gzeira. That means if a person did not know that it wasn't yet checked before, he saw a boy without a foot, he assumed the coin of mumcha saw already and went to check it. In that case, the end result would be kosher according to Rabbi Yehuda. According to Rabbi Meir, would be kosher. Why? Because it was only because of a knas given to the one who did it. The dukin is the French word dukin. The heaven has a doik over it, like some kind of thin layer. We're not sure it comes to the eye if it's a real one or not. But everyone in that case, Rabbi Yehuda, he holds in the case of dukin shabayin. Yehuda made it also it changes after miseh, right? Some dukin after shechita seems to be it's a mukavua. If you would have seen before the shechita, then Taka would seem. In that case, it's a problem. Let's go quickly. We have to finish up here. So May takes it further and says we'll make all the women shebeguf aser until the mumchas because of the gzeir. If his ear was cut or his hand was cut. In this case, it's for sure it's a mum. After the shechita doesn't change. Nevertheless, we go there. We saw some of the Deket Mushum Gzeira Kosele. It's also from the Lashon Mishnah for Gzeira. It's Knosser Konis given Knosser Shaloi. Yargil Oy should not get used to doing this. It doesn't say I've made Oyser. Having mashmid also totally begufe shenri yosel lachish klum. If it would say I've made oyser, it means it itself is also finished. Regardless if it was done on mistake or on purpose. It doesn't say that. What does it say? Ella hoyil v'ova rushchote, meaning he already went and shefted it. Shmami no. So from this language you see, zeh time this to the shehekel l'shochte. The reason is we're giving a class to the one who's making the shefted too early. That's what giving him a class not to it. But Rabbi Meir hadavar b'rishoy shel koyin zeh shehekel bei in the rishis in the aveda that he did. But if it's a person like this who's innocent and did it by mistake, he won't get that knas. You see, right? Now, who's Amir Vardima Noah Hoya? He was handsome. That's one taich. Al Shem Vurodim Hoyanika was called an aved as a rose. The place called Vardina. See, must have to Edivin. Shenikrim Anshe Vardina. He comes from Vardina. Vanoshim Tzaknin Vitzori Ayin B'Meinu. They were cheap and with their eyes. The Gemara speaks about. Sakonim, a kamson is a how do you call it? Stingy person. Yeah. Speaks about Eiduvin. If you want to be makrid and you put your food together in the Eiduvin, the person says, "I want my food not to be touched by anyone else." Right? So one day they said it's not an Eiduv, it's butter. Eiduv means in definition you have to join. Yeah. Another Amayda says, no, it's an Eiduv, but that person is going to be called. He's a stingy person. That's what it says within what Eiduv. Right? The Amirim saw it from yesterday of Yom Tiv. In Kavoi Oiva, they already saw it before. Next Amid on top, Yom Tiv Shula Kamashal. They asked questions on Yom Tiv to see. Probably show you Torah be Yom Tiv. They were very busy. Out of Yom Tiv, very busy. Mishra Amumin after the Oimaloi Leich go and Achshel go now. Come tomorrow, and I'm going to go and cross-examine you. Vayishalei Alamum Eich Bali. They would ask how the moon came about. Why would you have to ask a kohen? What so he would do that? Yeah, be penei disappoint. Shechoshdu kohenim al abchoros. They were choshed. They suspect the kohenim on the b'chayres. Lahatil behem mum, to put the mum, because they don't want to be matriach with this kohen. It said the time we learned, kol mum haruhin lavi b'dei adam. Any mum that we see the animal got that it's possible came through man, through human intervention. Roi Yisrael nemonim. If a shepherd was a Yisrael, he's believed to say yes, it came by not by me. But Roi Kohenim ain't one did not believe. But Tzarich Lavi Eidim sheme'elo baloi. The Kohen must be witnesses that this mum take because of the chashuv. Who gave it a Kohen, was a Kohen, and Doli Einei Reb Zeida was a Rava, picked his hands up from his face out of the shower when he was washing his head out of Yom Tif to look Nosa Einov. And he looked and saw the mum. The lady went back and don't come tomorrow. What was the case? Hutza geder shel koitzim. Geder is a fence. Koitzim is thorns. A thorn set. V'avashadion sari bahar gisa de hutza. So oirin have a mushlachin me'ever legeder. Soidim are barley. Mushlachin was tossed on the other side of the fence. V'apchoid hoya lever hasheni. The prayer was on the other side of the fence. And what happened? Parte lisav vosei. And it split its lip. Kora sfasa. It ripped its lip. V'hi shnuye b'mumei hapchei. It's one of the mumei hapchei. Sfasai shenifkema. That was pogum. Shalom hu niker. You could see it all the time. Im akramta lo. He asked, did you do it? Midas nasata sayrim sham. Did you deliberately put the barley on the other side of that fence? He asked him. And Rashi explains on something else they mentioned before. Shenichshadetem ala pcheiros. We're choshid you from place. Why? We play Torah Hagodil v'Hayitzia Shehut Lolov. It's a great burden and expense for the kohen. As I said last year, after 3 months, the Yisrael has right to give it to the kohen. The kohen must take it. And if the kohen is not getting the move for another year, so he has now expenses of feeding the kohen, taking care of the kohen for a whole year till the mum comes. You can't leave by the Yisrael and say give it to him when he gets the mum. That's what it says here. So Yisrael ain't a metapel boy. The Yisrael does not have to be metapel. Doesn't have to take care. Elo shleisha chadashim. V'nois look after a few months. Lo yahaya karei lo yahaya says Rashi. You should not place one. How do you know you should not? If you go to mum lo yiyah boy ain't elo. It cost of mum. If it would not say kol, just say mum. Well, it cost of kol and not say kol. Lo hoya lo lesser. Grama would not be able to make also only a gram when it comes to mum. Ella, what would be also nesinas mum hamosh? In that case, would be only also to place the mum. Havol achshov, not the pasuk oimer mum. Let's say nesinas mum hamosh. The pasuk says mum to say you should not place it mamosh. V'amar, and he added kol. That comes to add the mum. Kol mum. Let's say grama to say even grama is also quickly place in the last amud. Well, let's just finish placing them and get the people coming from my even home. Yeah.
It's usher to put a mum or mum that is put.
No, you usher to put a mum and even to be goydem a mum, to cause a mum to come.
Right.
We know that from what says ye with Taishlo Yahaya means that you should not place the mum with your hands mamash. Okay. And it says kol. Why is it kol? It says mum lo yiyah. Why kol mum? Kol as. Don't even, it's also us to be guiding, like we said, putting on the ear of the animal a dough and have the dog come and bite it to take off the ear. A very simple thesis. And I've made another rule, this knos concept made Pasuk ben Yitzchak the halacha Rabbi Yehuda. The boy Hassam b'chayros stama the shas aliba the Rabbi Yehuda. In this din about b'chayros, who is the halacha like? Ben Yitzchak al-Fasi paskin the halacha like Rabbi Yehuda, even though we know normally Stam Shah, I forgot that made Rabbi Yehuda halacha Rabbi Meir big zeiros. The rule is the halacha is like Rabbi Meir when it comes to his zeiros. And now according to the Maskana, the Gemara, this is only a zera. In the beginning, in the half, we thought it was connected to our Mishnah. Now we know it's zera. So now I have another question. When it comes to zeiros, there's a rule that we do paskin like Rabbi Meir, and we are machmir in his zeiros. So how can we pass like Rabbi Yehuda? So that's what saying it's a knas, not a zera. A knas is the hainu vayde big zeiros, avalei b'kniseisav. But not when it comes to the knos. In other words, this it comes to a gzeira. Indeed, we're geyser and we say don't shecht and then check because we're worried the animal might by the eye it might change and then if you have a gzeira to the whole goof or to the eye. But the knas is something else. If you did go ahead and shecht and then you're going to come and check. Now, Rabbi Yehuda says. Rabbi Meir says you don't get a knas. Rabbi Yehuda says you don't get a knas. Rabbi Meir says you do get a knas. If we would pass like Rabbi Yehuda also when it comes to the knasos, then we would not give him a knas. We would let him eat the b'chol. But because we pass like Rabbi Meir when it comes to knasos, so therefore we hold you do give him a knas. So this doesn't contradict to the rule, even though it's the rule that we always pass like a mirror comes to Gzeiros, but our case is a class. We're not going to be Meidich now, there's no time. That the second introduction before the Shir was more connected to the Staisvis. If we had time, we would go into this Arichis about the Knas and the Gzeira, because from Gemara also it seems it's calling it a Knas, calling it a Gzeira. What's going on, and what is the Gzeira? Is the Gzeira a Knas? We're going to what? We're giving him a Knas because he was over on the Gzeira. So that's going to be Mr. Shem. If you have next time we should start the next mission. Okay.
What's Vadai? I don't find Vadai because
Vadai.
about the Rabbi Meir, not as like Rabbi Meir.
Hainu Vadai Bigzeres, or the Lashon Vadai you're asking. This is definitely when we definitely pass like him only when it comes to Gzeira. But let's appreciate I believe the Knas is a little bit different. That means there's a Gzeira, I can understand. But you can go so far after the Gzeira, you're even going to give a Knas to the person who went against the Gzeira and say the meat is also that not necessarily do we have to pass like a Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda will tackle, you don't give a Knas. He says don't shecht it first. He also holds it should be gezer. But he says what? If you do, you're going to be able to eat it. He's maker. On that way, we have the right to machem like Rabbi Meir, because you don't have to pass like a Yehuda because it's not speaking about the gezer, speaking about a Knas. Okay.
Do you know if there was ever a gemach for Kabbanis if someone couldn't afford it as a tzaras?